Hello, here is our little daisy flower crochet tutorial. The wool and wire I use here are randomly colored. Everyone just needs to refer to my crochet method is sufficient for crochet. First, everyone take out the yellow line. Let's start with the crochet part of the flower heart. We need to start with a circular needle. We need to hold our thread position with our hands here. Place it above the palm of your hand. Wrap 2 circles around the index finger. After 2 rounds of wrapping, you can see that there will be 3 on our fingers. 3 wires. We need to pinch the overlapping positions of the 3 wires. Remove the coil. Next, we need to wrap the cable around our hands. We need to wrap our little finger around the palm of our hand. Then we will remove our thread from the index and middle fingers. Pass through the middle towards the back of your hand. Bring it over from above the index finger again. Using the middle finger and thumb, pinch the overlapping positions of the 3 coils. This is our method of holding the thread. Next, our crochet needs to start from this large one. Hook weaving in holes. Next, we need to crochet 6 short needles. We need to thread the crochet through the large hole. Crochet below all lines. Connect the wires from bottom to top. Needle position facing down. Bring us. The line here above starts from the rear. Bring it from the large coil. When bringing it over, slowly point the needle upwards so our wires won't loosen. Next, our crochet is above the line. We need to wrap the line from top to bottom. Needle position facing down. This is better for wiring. We will bring this thread from the rear. Move our crochet to the right. Tighten it up a bit. This thread can play a fixed role. This stitch is our lock stitch. Next, we will crochet a braid needle. As the next circle as a standing pin. Our crochet is on line. Direct winding above. Bring the front coil directly from the rear coil. This stitch is also called a braid stitch or a standing stitch. The 2 stitches we just crocheted don't count as an extra stitch. What's next? Let's crochet our short needles normally again. We crochet through a large hole. Hook the thread below all the threads to bring them over. Hook needle tip facing up. There are now 2 coils on the crochet. We need to wrap the crochet thread from top to bottom here. Connect the front coil directly. Bring it from the back 2 coils. First short stitch completed. We need to specify the corresponding needle number. Put on our rubber buckle. What about a complete set of needles here? It's just a V-shaped shape like this. 2 threads. This is one of our pinholes. We mark the intersection below the 2 lines. This is the first stitch of our first lap. Continue to crochet downwards. The crochet also passes through this large coil. Hook the needle and tie the thread to bring it over. Next, wrap the wire from top to bottom. Bring the front coil over from the rear 2 coils. Second short stitch completed. Such a V-shaped shape is just one of our short needles. Continue crochet. Bring the wire over with the wire. Thread the wire from left to right through the rear 2 coils. Third short stitch completed. Fifth stitch. After the 6th stitch is hooked, we can stretch the coil on the crochet a bit larger. We can count this needle number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need to be at the position of the 6th needle. Also put on our rubber buckle. Mark it. Next, we need to position the first stitch. 这个地方 bring it up to him. You can see that we need to buckle the first stitch. There will be 1 wire end and 2 wires here. Next, we need to gently pull our thread. Find the 2 wires below the head position. Which one has obvious activity? Let's not push too hard. After we found the active thread, let's just stop. We can see this line of activity. Next, we need to pull the line of activity. The section near the thread end position. Let's give it a drag. You can see that, while dragging it, the thread next to us will be collected. After receiving it, what about it? We will get a large coil and a thread head. At this moment, we pull our thread. Our other coil will also be included. This is our circular needle. Next, we need to thread the crochet through the large coil just reserved. We will shrink the coil a bit. Next, we need to perform extraction with the first needle position. We need to buckle this place for the first stitch. Take it down first. Thread the crochet needle through the position marked by the first stitch. Hook the thread below the thread to bring it over. Everyone, please take a look here. How to crochet our join needles. There are two coils on our hook needle for join and join needles. We will directly bring the front coil from the rear coil. Need to tighten the rear coil. Let's move the crochet to the right. Or we can pull the thread down here. You can also shrink our coil for it. We must reduce the size of the join needle. After shrinking, we will crochet another braid needle as the standing needle for the next round. Braid needle crochet directly wound above the line. Bring the front coil over from the rear coil. Pull out needle and stand up needle completed. Our join needle and our standing needle just now. These two stitches are not counted as this one, but at the end of each lap, we need to do it. Crochet these two stitches. Everyone must not miss it. The reason why we will shrink the join needle, it is also convenient to distinguish between our first and last stitches to prevent us from going through the crochet process in the future. Confuse these two needles. Next, let's continue weaving the second loop. In the second loop, we need to crochet 6 bolts. V means adding needles. Adding a needle means hooking 2 short needles in the same needle hole. We need to be on the right side, the position where the first stitch needs to be marked with a buckle. We crochet 2 short needles. After the first stitch is hooked, we need to mark and buckle in a timely manner. And then we're still in the same position. Crochet another short needle in the same position. That's how we add needles. The remaining 5 stitches. Let's separate, hook and weave a short needle on each stitch. Crochet passes through the corresponding needle order. Hook the thread below the thread to take it out. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Pass the front coil through the rear 2 coils. Short needle completion. Crochet another short needle in the same position, pressing the wire to bring it out. The crochet thread passes through the rear 2 coils. The second needle addition is completed. Continue to crochet downwards. At the end of this circle, there are a total of sharp stitches. 2 short needles are hooked in each corresponding needle hole. After the last stitch is hooked, we can expand the coil a bit. Mark our rubber buckle on the last stitch. You can count our needle numbers here, everyone. Let's see if it's sharp stitches. A V-shaped shape like this represents a stitch. Let's count and see if it's sharp stitches. If it's sharp stitches, we'll continue to replicate downwards. What's next? We need to perform extraction with the first needle again. Let's first remove the first stitch mark buckle. Crochet through. Needle order of the first stitch. Hook the thread under the thread to bring it back. We will directly pull the front coil from the rear coil. Tighten the rear coil. Did you see what you saw? This coil has already been tightened. The needle extraction is complete. Then crochet another braid needle. Take a circle of standing needles. The crochet directly winds through the rear coil. At the end of each lap, hook the needle like this. Needles like this are essential. In the following crochet process, I won't explain these 2 injections to everyone again. Next, let's continue weaving the third loop. In the third loop, we need to crochet short needles. It's on every needle thread. We only crochet a short needle. If our crochet exceeds the corresponding needle size, we need to first pick it out. We put on the glue buckle for the first stitch. Continue with each remaining stitch. We all hooked a short needle. Single wire winding through 2 coils. After the last stitch is hooked, you can see that our fabric will move inward. Overturn. At this point, we need to spin the fabric out of it. Our front has such a concave shape. The back is flat. We must make sure to hook weave facing outwards. After the last stitch is hooked, we need to mark the need for buckle on the top. Let's continue printing with the D needle. Shrink stand-up needle. Tick wheel. Next, let's crochet the 4th loop. In the 4th loop, we need to crochet the inner half needle. Crochet 12 short needles. Let me tell you something here, how to crochet the inner half needle. Our corresponding needles. There are 2 lines in total. A line. Have a needle in 2 lines is close. The inner thread is our inner half needle. Next, we need every stitch here. Hook weaving on half a thread. Let's demonstrate to everyone. Here we go straight ahead. Corresponding needle order, half line off. We will thread the crochet over here. Our celery is brief. After the first stitch is hooked, also mark the buckle with a mark. Or have a needle for needle picking purposes. The half needle close to the inside. We crochet 12 short needles. Continue to pull with the first needle position. Here we need to draw a complete needle. That is to say, we need to mark the position of the buckle for the first stitch. Here, hook the line over. Directly tucked through the rear. Tighten the rear coil. It's not a standing pin with a braid needle for a loop. As you can see, the remaining half of the needle is in this place. Remaining half needle, we will use it for crochet petal parts later on. Next, let's crochet the 5th loop. In the 5th loop, we need to crochet and reduce the stitches. Next, we need to crochet and reduce the needle count. Needle reduction is a new method of acupuncture. Everyone, we need to pay attention here. We need to select the crochet for the needle reduction here. The half thread of the outer half needle. What we just crocheted was half a thread with an inner half needle. Now, we only pick the half thread with the outer half needle. We'll pick two one after another. After the first selection, we will move the crochet to the next stitch order again. Let's pick another one. Here, we have selected 2 needles in total, 3 threads of the outer half needle. Next, we crochet the thread directly from the coming through 2 coils. The remaining 2 coils on the crochet needle are wound through in sequence. Next, let's choose half stitch with 2 adjacent stitches below. Hook needle winding thread passes through the front 2 coils. Wrap the wire through the rear 2 coils again. This is our needle reduction. We use the same method to crochet until the end. We can first remove the GL buckle for the last 2 stitches. After hooking, we will use the first needle to pull it out. Crochet another braid needle to elongate the thread. Cut the line with scissors. Pull out the line directly. Tighten it up a bit. We can combine our. Flatten the hooked object. So our stamens are ready. We can put the thread position inside. You can use crochet to fill in. If there are relatives with tweezers at home, tweezers can also be used. Tuck our thread and position inside. Serve as a filling function. What's next? We need to thread the end onto our suture needle. We need to shrink our orifice position. We need to also provoke us here the half thread of the outer half needle. We pass through in sequence, using our needles. Pass through half a line. Pass through half a line. Next, we will tighten the thread again. Tighten it up a bit. How about this? Or if you shrink your mouth, it will fit in. After the agreement is made, we can hide the thread. Then use scissors to cut the line. Here is the front of our flowers. What about the position of the circular hole at the end of our sentence? We all don't want to keep it too tight. If everyone is very tight, we can use a crochet to poke this circular hole. Punch out a hole position, convenient for us to fill our wire inward later. Used for making flower stems. Next, let's go back to the part of crochet petals. What about the petals here? We need to replace them with white thread. We need to remove the white wire. We can directly pick up the thread in our hands. After taking it, we will. The front of the stamen faces forward. Place the thread and position on the back and hold it down with your hand. Fixed. Next, we need to any half needle on the edge. Hook weaving on half a thread. Next, we need to wrap the crochet needle one circle from top to bottom. Bring the thread from the half needle. What's done here, the thread end can be reserved for a little longer, convenient for us to hide the thread later. Then we hook and weave 3 braid needles. Let's directly wind the crochet needle from top to bottom. Bring the front coil over from the rear coil. This way, a braid needle will hook up. Same method. Crochet 3. 3 braid needles completed. We crochet a long needle. In the same needle order. Long needle crochet first wound the thread. We pass through the corresponding coil. At this time, we can remove the thread from the back. Build on our crochet together. Hook the needle and tie the thread to bring it over. Crochet winding. First, pass through the 2 coils in front. Stop the crochet needle and turn the thread over. 2 remaining coils on the crochet. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Pass through the rear 2 coils again. Long needle completion. After hooking the long needle, we will crochet 3 more braid needles. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Directly pass through the rear 2 coils. Rear coil. Crochet 3. After completing the 3 stitches, we need to conduct extraction with the next needle target. We hook the needle through the next half needle. The same thread head position should be placed above. Hook the needle and tie the thread to bring it over. In button, bring the front coil directly from the rear coil. It's our join needle. We need to repeat the crochet process for this group. Sure. Then continue to crochet 3 braid needles. After completing the 3 braid pins, hook a long needle in the same needle order. Thread the crochet through. Thread ends are placed on crochet needles. Crochet together. Take the wire out by connecting it. There are 3 coils on the crochet needle. Wrap the wire first through the front 2 coils. Rewind the wire and pass through the rear 2 coils. After the long needle hook is hooked, then hook and weave 3 braid needles. Initiate with the next shot. Introduction and extraction. Directly remove the front coil from the rear coil. That's fine. Needle insertion and extraction completed, so our second petal is hooked up. Continue to crochet downwards. Pick up 3 braid pins. Hook and weave long needles in the same needle mesh. Where are our thread ends here? After hooking 3 petals, it's almost fixed. We can cut it off. The crochet thread first passes through the front 2 coils. Rewind the wire and pass through the rear 2 coils. Next, 3 braid pins. Pull at the next needle position. Directly add. Just thread the thread through the rear coil. If it drops, we need to redo the crochet process. Okay, then continue down. After completing the 3 braid pins, we crochet a long needle in the same position. After the long needle is completed, add 3 braid needles. Pull to the next stitch. After the join is completed, there are 3 more braid needles immediately following it. Crochet long needles in the same stitch. After the long needle hook is fixed, 3 braid needles are pulled out. Continue. Last stitch. After we hook it up, what happens? We need to trigger with the first needle position here. We can tighten this join needle for it. Then hook and weave another locking needle, namely, the braid needle accelerates elongation. Cut the line with scissors. Tighten it up a bit. After the flowers are hooked, the thread we hid at the beginning, we can cut it off now. And then there's the other thread we need. Thread into the suture needle for thread collection. After threading it into the suture needle, we need to pass it through among the already crocheted fabrics. What's next? Let's teach you the stubborn method of leaves. What about the leaves here? We need braid needles. We first need to tie a loose knot in the thread. We need to spread the thread with our index finger and thumb. There will be a coil in this area of the index finger. We will adjust the position of the thread head. Take it from the lower direction of the coil. Pay attention to the position of the thread head and do not exceed it. Let's tighten the knot next to it, so our knots are ready. Then we will shrink the knot a bit. Thread the crochet needle into our loose knot by hand. Adjust the size of the knots. Then we use our hands to hold the thread. We need to crochet a total of 9 braid needles for the leaves. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Thread the crochet directly through the coil. 1 braid stitch completed. We can use braid needles. Fix the following on the side. Mark it. Mark through these bar lines. This way we can confirm that where is the position of the first stitch. Continue to crochet downwards. Continue to hook down and weave a total of 9 braid needles, the second and third stitches. Fourth stitch. 5、6、789. After the completion of the 9 braid needles, we need to crochet on the penultimate stitch. Position of the penultimate stitch. Let's pick up half the thread. Attention everyone, we only pick up half of the thread for a complete needle thread. Crochet short needle. Hook the thread below the thread. Bring the line over. There are 2 coils on the crochet needle. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Pass through the rear 2 coils. The short stitch of the first stitch is completed. Next, we will crochet a medium length needle. When crocheting with medium length needles, we need to thread the crochet first. Then we'll go on to the next half stitch. Thread the crochet through half the thread of the needle. Hook the thread below the thread. Bring the line out. There are now 3 coils on the crochet. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Pass through the rear 3 coils in sequence. Medium length needle completed. Next, we will crochet for long needles. We also need to wrap the long needle first. Continue to pick up half the needle in the next corresponding stitch. Hook the needle to tie the thread and take it out. There are now 3 coils on the crochet. Let's start with crochet thread winding. Pass through the front 2 coils. Pull the crochet up and out. 2 remaining coils on the crochet. The winding passes through the rear 2 coils in sequence. 1 long stitch completed. We need to crochet a total of 3 long needles. We will continue to crochet 3 more stitches next. The crochet first winds a thread and picks half a thread. Take the wire out by connecting it. Hook needle winding thread passes through the front 2 coils. Take the crochet out. Rewind the wire and pass through the rear 2 coils. Second long stitch completed. Continue to crochet long needles downwards. Pick half a thread, winding in pairs. 3 long stitch completed. Continue with the 4th stitch. After the 4th stitch is completed, let's continue to crochet a medium length needle. Wrap a crochet around the thread. We pass through half needle position. Hook stitch to take the thread out of the medium length needle. Here, the hook needle winds through 3 coils in sequence. It's our medium length needle. Next to the last needle order, that's where we need to lock the mark. We are about to take it down here. We need to focus on this needle. Crochet 3 short needles. The crochet goes through the last stitch. Hook the needle and tie the thread to bring it over. Short needle. Just wrap the wire directly through the rear 2 coils. We need to hook 3 short needles in this stitch hole. 3 short needles are RW. 2 stitches followed by a short stitch. 3 short stitches completed. Then we will move on to the next needle at this location. Crochet a medium length needle. The crochet needs to be wound first. Pass through the corresponding position of the other half of the needle. At this point we can. Thread ends are attached to our crochet needles. Crochet together can play a long-term role. Hook the needle and tie the thread to bring it over. The medium length crochet thread is wound directly through 3 coils. It's our medium length needle. After the medium length needle is hooked, we will crochet 4 more long needles. It's symmetrical to crochet with our other side. Medium long needle hook. Wrap the needle around the thread and take half the thread to press the thread. The crochet thread is threaded in pairs, which is our long needle. 1 long stitch completed. Continue to crochet downwards. Pairwise needle delivery. The second long needle completes the winding process. Next half needle. Pay attention to the thread ends at the back that should be laid on top. 3 long needles. 4 long needles. Then crochet another medium length needle. Crochet winding. The winding passes through 3 coils in sequence. Finally, there will still be 1.5 stitches left. On the half stitch of our stitch, need to crochet a short needle. Thread the crochet through. At this time, we don't need to put on the back line anymore. Direct crochet short needle. After threading the crochet thread, place 2 coils. Next, we need to communicate with the first shot. The first stitch here next to me. V-shaped join. Bring the line over. Pull the needle directly to the front. The coil has been brought through the rear coil. Tighten the rear coil. Crochet another locking needle. Lengthen the line. We don't need to reserve too much thread here. Just reserve a short section. Cut the line with scissors. Continuing with this line at the back, we can give him a slight pull. Just pull and organize the shape of the leaves a little bit. Where are the thread ends here? We have already hidden it during the crochet process. After hiding it, we can simply cut it off. If everyone here doesn't have, hide the thread when crocheting. We need to use suture needles for thread collection. So our leaves are ready to be made. Here we will add 2 accessories. After all the groups are hooked and woven, we need to proceed with assembly next. We need to remove approximately 25 centimeters. We will fold the iron wire in half. After we folded the wire in half, the front position can be slightly flattened. We wear it on the back of our flowers. Avoid the holes. And then fold it up. This can make our flowers fixed more firmly, not easily dispersed, like this. And then what? We need to wrap our flower stem part upwards. We need to remove the green yarn. From the upper position, this place, first turn the thread head downwards. Let's wrap around this area at the bottom a few more times, then slowly wrap it down again. When we reach the middle position, we need to pay attention to it. Wrap around our leaves. We take out the leaves. Place the thread head position below. Place the front of the leaf in the front position. We wrap it around the top. Adjust it. As we approach the bottom, we need to hide the thread. We can first Cut off the remaining thread of the leaf. Next, let's hide the thread. Pay attention here, everyone. We need this wire connecting the wire cluster. Give it a slight elongation. Spread the line with our index finger and thumb. Next, we need to unravel the connecting wire with our flower stems. Vertical placement. Next, take the thread we are winding. Along with the flower stem and our thread are intertwined together. Pay attention. Don't move the line parallel to our flower stem. We always keep it vertical. We need to use this wrapped thread. Wrap the flower stem and this thread together. After a short detour, we can gently pinch it with our hands. Let's pull the thread below. You can tuck in the upper thread. This is our common method. After watching the thread, use scissors to cut it off. The length of the flower stem here, everyone can make adjustments according to their own ideas. No fixed requirements, but don't be too long, it's easy to get stuck. Like this, our little daisies. Just make it. Next, we need to connect it to our flower soil. Next, we need to take out the already hooked ones. The part of soil, we will thread the flower stick through it. Like this. Next, we need to break the wire below. After breaking it apart, we need to surround the bottom of the flower pot here to give it circle. This can make the bottom of our flower pot more stable. We also circled the other one. Like this will give the flowers. Move it, so our flowers can stand still. What's next? Let's mix the flower soil with our flower pot again. Connect. What about the next connection process? I will use another one to demonstrate to everyone. The production method is the same. Next, let me demonstrate how to connect flower soil and flower pots. We need to thread the reserved thread into the suture needle. After we thread it into the suture needle, we can find the flower pot. Pulling position. We will connect them. We only pick the flower pots here. The remaining half line. A whole needle connecting our flower soil. To perform stitching, let's just circle round like this. The needle goes through 3 threads at once. Wrap them together in this way for stitching. 3 wires. Wrapping. The needle order of the flower pot and the flower soil can correspond to each other. We only need to insert each needle. Align and sew together. You can sew it all the way to the end. Here, we fixed it to the end. When there's still one small bite left, we need to fill in our cotton. We took out a small amount of cotton for filling. What about potted plants here? Cotton doesn't need to be filled too much. If there is too much, we will have a concave bottom here. After the concave, our potted plants will have no choice. Fixed. So here, we need to maintain that our bottom is a flat state. How about this? Our flower pots will be more stable, stronger. And then, after the cotton is stuffed, let's continue filling the flap. Sew up the flap. Hidden thread here, we just need to thread the needle through what we just fixed the flower pots and soil. The diagonal coil in the middle is sufficient. After inserting it, we will cut off the excess line segment. What about our tulips? The small potted plant is ready to be made.